It all started with something that felt harmless. Sarah had invited a few of her friends over for what she called a simple evening.
Just drinks, she said.
A small catch-up. I figured it would be straightforward, maybe even relaxing. I knew most of these women already, and things had always been polite enough. But I should have remembered that nothing stays casual when it comes to Sarah's circle. The moment they stepped in, I felt the whole vibe shift. 5 of them, talkative, confident, smiling in a way that seemed warm but carried a sharp edge underneath. I shook each hand, keeping my voice light and friendly. But the second Sarah walked off to grab drinks, the questioning began. Not friendly questions. More like an interrogation dressed up as conversation. "So, you're the guy she's been telling us about?" one asked, tilting her head while scanning me like a critic sizing up a performance. I nodded. That's me. Apparently, that wasn't enough for them. The next 2 hours blurred into a stream of sly comments, subtle insults, and carefully disguised critiques. One poked at my career. Another laughed about my hobby of fixing old cars. Someone else commented on how my lifestyle didn't match the kind of friends they thought I should have. The tone stayed polite, but the message was painfully clear. I wasn't good enough for their imaginary checklist. Sarah didn't seem to notice the tension at first, sipping her wine, laughing at jokes I barely understood. But I picked up on everything. How they measured me against some invisible standard. How they dissected the way I spoke, the clothes I wore, even how I laughed. It was nonstop, like being trapped under a spotlight with no curtain to hide behind. But through all of it, I stayed calm. Not because I was intimidated, and not because I wanted to avoid conflict. I chose calmness. I chose silence over defensiveness. I let them talk, almost like watching performers act out a scene. Then it hit me. They could waste their energy however they wanted. My energy was mine to protect. If they wanted to tear apart my character, they have to do it in the face of someone who refused to break. By the end of the evening, they were drained, clearly frustrated by the lack of reaction they expected. I just smiled, nodded when needed, and answered their questions with clear, steady words. No arguments. No drama. Just a calm presence that made their jabs look small. 2 hours later, the tension was thick. They'd criticized my job, my hobbies, my clothes, even my humor. Every remark came out like some sort of verdict from a jury that had already decided I wasn't enough. But still I didn't move. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't waver. My posture stayed straight, my tone steady, my gaze unshaken. That calm alone became an unexpected pushback. Claire, one of the loudest critics, leaned forward like she was about to land her biggest insult. "You know," she whispered, "for someone who works with his hands all day, you're kind of rough around the edges." I smiled, nodded politely. I like working with my hands. Keeps me grounded. No over-explaining. No flustered tone. Just confidence stripped of drama. Her words immediately lost their power. Then Megan chimed in, trying a different angle. "And your style, well, Sarah's always had a thing for high-end. Do you even notice?" She gestured at my simple jeans and shirt, waiting for me to shrink or apologize. I met her eyes. "I notice. I just dress in what feels right for me." That one sentence wiped the smugness right off her face. They even tossed in a few jabs about Sarah and me. "It's cute that you fix her little project ideas, but sometimes maybe let her take the lead." Another attempt to create some imaginary imbalance between us. I smiled again. Sarah has great ideas. I like helping. Still simple. Still confident. No defenses raised. And that's when I realized the truth. Their whole performance depended on my reaction. They wanted a crack, some sign of insecurity. But my steadiness made every critique evaporate. Slowly, their confidence shifted into uncertainty, like kids realizing their teasing wasn't landing. Sarah finally caught on too. I saw something flicker in her eyes, surprise, maybe admiration. Not because I won, but because I never stepped into the game they tried to play. My composure said more than any argument ever could. When they finally left, I was still sitting there, sipping my drink, letting the house quiet down. No yelling. No conflict. Just a quiet kind of strength. For 2 straight hours they tried to point out my flaws. And in the end, every judgment fell apart without me raising my voice once. Watching them walk out a little shaken, I felt a quiet truth settle in. Real confidence, real clarity. It's louder than any argument. After the door closed, the house felt unusually still. Sarah walked over and lightly brushed her hand against mine, like she was checking where my head was at. I gave her a small, knowing smile. "Well," I said softly. "That was something." She let out a nervous laugh, realizing the calm her friends couldn't rattle was completely real. "You handled them better than I expected," she admitted. "I didn't think you'd just sit there like that." I shrugged. I don't react to criticism the way most people expect. It rarely leads anywhere. She held my gaze, amusement, surprise, and something else hidden behind her eyes. Respect. "They were ruthless," she whispered. I didn't think anyone could stay that calm. I tilted my head, steady and sure. Calm isn't about staying quiet. It's about understanding the intent behind the words, seeing the game, and choosing your response. Everything else is just noise. The message hit her, gently but clearly. Her friends had tried to corner me, provoke me, judge me. But their assumptions broke apart the moment they met real self-assurance. Sarah laughed again, lighter this time. "You made them speechless," she teased. "They might actually rethink how they talk about you and me next time." I squeezed her hand, smiling. It's not about changing their minds. It's about knowing myself and refusing to let other people define me. She went quiet for a moment, like she was letting the lesson settle in. Later that night, when the house was empty and things finally calmed down, I replayed the whole evening in my mind. The energy, the comments, the attempts to shake me. All of it reminded me of something important. People will always try to judge you, question you, or challenge your worth. But the real strength lies in staying grounded, choosing your reaction, and keeping your clarity intact. By the time Sarah and I went to bed, the tension had shifted into something like a quiet victory, one earned without arguing or raising my voice. That night made one thing clear. Calmness isn't a trick. It's a lifestyle. It's self-respect, awareness, and strength in one breath. I didn't just make it through their criticism. I turned it into a subtle, unshakable reminder of who I am. And that reminder will last far longer than their fleeting judgments ever could.